So today I'm cooking hardtack from the Civil War. So the ingredients you need are 2 cups of all-purpose flour, not self-rising, or else it won't work. 3/4 cup of water right here. And then you need 1.5 teaspoons of salt, which is optional, but it acts as a natural preservative to keep it lasting for longer. So what you do, first you would preheat your oven to 375 because it'll take a little while, so you want to get that started. Next, in a larger bowl, we'll mix all of your ingredients. You will mix your flour, salt, and water. So first we're going to pour in the flour. In this recipe didn't tell you how to mix, so I'm using a whisk for easiness. Next we'll go in the salt. Last but not least, we'll put in the water. Then we mix. So hardtack was used as a bread substitute during the Civil War when soldiers could not have access to bread. And it's basically a very hard cracker-like bread that you have to soak in coffee, soup, or anything before eating, or else you can break a tooth. I wonder if I need more water in here. Very flour. I like texture. Also thinking maybe you should use a spoon for this. I'm gonna get a knife of some sort to kind of get this out of the whisk. Might need more flour as well. So we have a butter knife to kind of get the dough out of here. But this recipe usually takes about an hour to bake at 375. So it would be a little while until I taste this. Before that, I have to brew some coffee so I can really try it, like how they would. Once this is all mixed up, I will roll it out on my nearby sheet and use a rolling pin to kind of flatten it all out. Definitely do not recommend using a whisk. Also, my hands are washed. I did wash them before making this video. Note to self, next time I attempt making hardtack, which I don't think I will, but next time, don't use a whisk, use a spatula of some sort. So I wonder if I could kind of mix it in with my hands. See, kind of knead it a little bit to get to the bottom. It doesn't have a texture like most baked goods would that I have experienced baking. It's very sticky texture, which is why I prepared a separate bowl of flour in case I need it to kind of help with the stickiness, because it should not be sticking to my hands at all. It needs a little bit more flour right here, and then after kind of kneading it, I think it is ready to be transferred over to my other mat so I can roll it out. So now I'm going to rearrange this a little bit so you can see the dough being kneaded. Good. So now I'm going to roll this over so you can see. Now I'm going to use a rolling pin to kind of roll this out. I'm going to flour that off a little bit so it's nice, it doesn't stick at all. Kind of knead this around to really get mixed in. There's a little stickiness right there again. This should not be sticky at all. It should not be sticking to my hands. And it's doing a pretty good job. So now that this is floured, I'm going to flour the top. So my rolling pin does not stick, which I'll put a little flour on here too. Strategy I also use when I'm making sugar cookies. So now roll this out. It has the texture of like slime for some reason, which is very interesting. I would expect it to be a lot like easier to spread. It does not want to spread. And we need to roll this out until it's about a third or a quarter inch thick, which, well, not a third to a quarter, a third and a half inch thick. I'd say that's pretty good. So now we cut the dough to squares. So we will use the butter knife from earlier. I want to cut this about 3-inch squares, but mine's not very square shaped, so we'll do the best we can. I'll say about that big. So after I get this all cut horizontally, then I will move to cutting it vertically. So now that's cut roughly 3-inch squares, I'm going to try to cut this vertically. Hopefully I get a near perfect square so I can show you what it should look like. So here's kind of a roundish piece of the dough, but I didn't quite roll it out to be completely square. So I'm gonna have some rounder pieces. Which is not perfect since this is my first time ever making hardtack, but for example, here is a kind of piece of the dough, more finished piece. So I'm going to finish cutting these. The recipe I found online to make this hardtack is on breaddad.com, and it has more of a classic hardtack recipe. So now that these are all cut, I'm going to take a fork. If you have chopsticks, you should use chopsticks. But I'm going to use a fork in this step because we have them, but they're just not open. We don't open them yet. So now you kind of poke holes all the way through to keep like the crackers from puffing up, like cookie type shapes. And these holes should try to go all the way through. Traditionally, they have larger holes, but using a fork, so you kind of get smaller holes like that. they go through to the other side as well. So these ones shouldn't be like puffing up. My oven is almost ready, almost done preheating. So as soon as that's done, I'll pop these in, cook them for a half hour. Then when that half hour is done, I will take them out, flip them over with a spatula, then cook them for another half hour. So in that meantime, I'll get ready for the day. I don't know how many holes I'm supposed to poke, so I'm just kind of poking about 3-ish rows. So I'm done poking these holes, and if I have enough time, I'll grab my baking tray so I can cook them. Once these are done, they should have a very firm texture. I will show these once they're completely done. See if it's a flipping video. When these are completely done, I'll show them and try them. Hopefully these are edible. And I will make sure to brew a cup of coffee so I can actually eat these. This is a very long step. This video will most likely be submitted on my slideshow, just to make things easier. My oven is done preheating, so 2 left. As soon as these are done, I will put them on a tray, send them in the oven. So still some sticky parts, hopefully doesn't interfere with it. So now these all have holes, like so. They go through. They should be ready to put on a baking sheet and in the oven. So I have my baking sheet here, and we're gonna put these on here, then put them in the oven. This one's kind of sticky. Wow, these ones at the back are kind of sticking, so most likely have to try one of my smaller pieces. So holes, so it should be good. This one's, you can kind of still see the holes, so I think it'll be fine, and we won't have to worry about it rising in the oven. So now that these are all on here, we are going to put them in the oven. Then set a timer for 30 minutes. So in about 1.5 hours, I'll have to come out and flip those. Then at the end, I will show you the final result and me trying them.